Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channels. I'm here with
1FitBruja.
I am Hunter Salazar. So today we're going to talk about a couple deities and our workings with them. So I think that you mentioned Bastet before. Would you like to talk a little bit about Bastet and what she means to you and kind of maybe how you work with her?
All right. So when I researched history on Bastet when I was first drawn to her, she is the gatekeeper. So she does work with the dead and the living. So she's very versatile, and that's what I love about her. And she also has a take no shit attitude. She gets what she wants, and whatever it takes, she's gonna do it to get it. So she's very driven and motivated, and that's the kind of energy I need in my life because I can go through like depressive episodes where I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't even care if I wake up today. And having her energy present is something that actually motivates me to get shit done or try to get farther in my life, make advances, make money moves to try to get somewhere where I want to be. Um, so working with her, she's very versatile, so you can call forth her energy for darker workings, lighter workings, if you want to call it as such. But energy's energy, so that's just how I view it. But in order to get on her good side, I'd suggest having felines around in the first place. She loves cats. Usually, when you see Bastet, she's depicted with 2 or 3 cats. That's just how she rolls. She loves felines. She loves animals in general, but I mean, she's a representative of a cat for a reason. So that's just her energy that she gives out. So that's what she's depicted as in art. Um, she's very divine, feminine, but she's actually very masculine once you get to know her energy. She's very driven and she's a go-getter, and that's usually part of a masculine trait. They don't let themselves be held back by anything. They're gonna go get it, what they want, regardless of what happens. Um, let's see.
Do you feel like she's a multifaceted entity? So, like a lot of time when we're talking about deities and working with deities, I'll give an example. Odin, very divination oriented, very magic oriented. Also, does have the both like the dark and light side and the gray. Where one of Odin's names is Bullfucker, which means evildoer. But then he has the title of wise man, wayfarer, merchant. Do you feel like that Bastet has multiple facets based on who's dealing with her or what you need or just how you relate to her? Do you feel like she's multifaceted in that way?
I feel like all of the above. I feel like almost any deity, god, or goddess, they'll come to you in some sort of energetic form that you need in your life at that time, whether you keep working with them or not. Sometimes they will completely cut you off because they feel like there's no more assistance that they can give you that you haven't already done for yourself and that you can keep doing for yourself. So I feel like, yeah, she will come to you in a different way from someone else. So someone will always have a different perspective with working with her.
Do you feel like a lot of time when working with Odin, if you don't heed his message or what he's trying to tell you, he might just stop talking to you. So there's a what I do with Odin is I do free writing where I'll have a specific book that's his, that's of course blank pages, and I'll do a ritual and I'll just completely clear my mind, completely open my mind, get rid of everything else in my mind, and this is how meditation also helps this. And then I'll just let the words flow and I'll just start writing and writing and writing. And usually that's a very potent way that I communicate with him. But if I don't heed a particular message, then he might just get quiet and not write through me in that way. Does Bastet ever do that? And do you ever communicate with Bastet in a similar way with free writing or some other way?
Yeah, I definitely do. I've written petitions to her before explaining how I appreciate my connection with her and thanking her for everything that she's done for me or shown to me that I couldn't have accomplished on my own. But if you do not respect her space and respect her needs, I mean, that's just like anybody. That's just like your friend or your partner or whatever. If you abandon them, you better expect the same in return. Why would you keep doing something for someone that you care about and then you're not getting anything in return? It's like, do you even care about me? Why am I still here? So she has ghosted me on certain occasions where I let my depression take over and I haven't cared for her space as much as I should have. I haven't talked to her as much as I should have. You can feel a dull in energy, like there's nothing there. It almost makes you feel sad inside, like you've abandoned a part of yourself, because you kind of have. Because if you're energetically connected to your deities or gods or whoever you work with, you kind of abandoned yourself, because you create an energetic tie, a connection with those deities. So yeah, that's my point of view on there.
Like it's almost like an internal phone number that if you don't call enough, then or if you don't access that number enough, then they might not really care to pick up or call you back or kind of help you in any regard.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it is like that. It does feel like that. Because in order to help anyone else, you literally have to help yourself. So you kind of have to get your shit together, already pretty much know what's best for you in order to help and accept new things into your life. So you've got to keep catering and giving out to them in order to ever receive anything back. And you shouldn't just do it to receive things back. You actually have to give a damn. That's the whole point of having that connection.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's so a lot of time when I'm working, a lot of time people use we work with statues, but there's also sigils that people have for various deities. Sometimes there's sigils from personal gnosis. Sometimes there are ones that are historical. I use the rune Ansus in association with Odin. That's his rune. That's his Elder Futhark rune that is used to call him or work with him. Is there a particular sigil that you use when working with Bastet? Or is there a particular symbol, or do you just use a statue? How do you work with her? Is there a certain symbol that you could use as well in working with her?
I do have a statue, and I do have catnip oil that I use to anoint that statue, because she is a cat and she likes catnip as an offering. And so do most cats. So that draws the cats in near, and that helps collect her energy and build her energy up and help her be present in the situation if I'm trying to talk to her or whatever it is that I'm trying to do at the time. But a lot of the time I make artwork for her. I draw her pictures. I draw her pictures of whatever messages that she gives me whenever I can have enough time to meditate to bring forth like the era that she would live in, that time frame. I would draw things that she likes or wants, or it's usually depicted with a lot of cats because she loves cats. So I draw cats, I draw her with all the things that she has, and I would put that on the altar, or I would tuck it away somewhere that is close to her. So I make art for her. That's what I like doing, and I think she likes it a lot.
Cats are very magical because they you don't always know their motivations or what they're gonna do.
Oh yeah, they're a mystery.
Unpredictable. Do you feel like Bastet maybe is one of the ways she's connected to cats is that she's unpredictable and a little bit chaotic like cats are? Do you feel like that inherent nature exists both in cats but in a bigger form in Bastet?
Yeah, that's how I view her. I view her as a big giant cat. Her energy is like that, honestly. You don't know what she's going to do next. Depending on how you reacted, though, you can kind of gauge your own stupidity in the situation if you did not listen to her signals and cues of what you should have done.
Yeah.
You already know you're fucking up, then you can expect something in return, that's for sure. That's not going to be what you wanted because you should have listened in the first place. You know you fucked yourself over, basically. You ignore everything she did for you. So don't expect her to be around all the time after that. She'll probably ghost your ass. So, yeah, she's a cat. She's a cat.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, I think that so the wolf and oftentimes the bear is associated with Odin. So the wolf is very like predator oriented. Odin's warrior side is very much offensive. It's not completely defensive. He's also he's very clever like a wolf, and a wolfish with kind of the way that he manipulates his words or his communications. He always has a motive behind everything that can also be predator oriented. So there's some carryover between the nature of a wolf and the nature of Odin as well. And I think that does wolf does carry over to his nature. Is there something about so you felt drawn to Bastet? Have you felt drawn to Egyptian magic at all, or the way Egyptians do things, or do you feel like you're drawn to just Bastet? Have you been drawn to Egyptian magic in the past?
Definitely. Ever since I was a little girl, I was always curious about Egypt. I felt like that was the most magical place in the world, and I still do. That's something that's definitely stuck with me, and I want to know as much as I can. I am currently working on contacting Nun and contacting Set. I feel like their energies resonate with me fairly well. So I'm trying to read a little more about them and then get a feel for both their energies before I actually start calling them in and start working with them. But yeah, Egyptian magic is definitely something that I am fascinated with, and I'll probably always will be.
There's a lot of people that have been called to Set in the last about 10 years or so, I think. For instance, Edred Thorson or Stephen Flowers. He wrote a lot of good books on runes and Nordic magic. But he also works with the Temple of Set. I'm not really sure how the two systems mix, but I see a lot of crossovers between people in different paths. For instance, Luciferian, but also Egyptian, and even some satanic. A lot of crossover in the set. It seems like a lot of people are being called to Set recently. I'm not exactly sure why that is. Because I come from a more Nordic kind of understanding of things, also Hindu, but those two coincide more so than people think. I think of what one person said. I think it was Raven Kalduri. He said that the world tree it goes through cycles of unzipping. Basically, the multiverse goes through cycles of unzipping and then zipping back up. And some people think that sets kind of the energy that's one of the ones at the bottom of the multiverse, that when you're zipping back up, you're more drawn to that. And then once everything starts zipping up, people they can contact more easily the gods based on the time and the cycle of that zipping up. I'm not sure your perspective on the multiverse or what have you, but do you think that people are called to different beings, different gods, different spirits based on cycles? Do you think that cycles of time and really the universe have effect on people and what they're drawn to? Because I have noticed about Set recently. Do you feel like that's a thing?
I feel like it is a thing, and I study a lot of astrology. So when planets shift, it does create an impact on our planet. Both you can physically see it when the moon is full and the tides come in, and it pulls everything in. So the energy in you actually shifts in reality. Um, so I believe in planetary alignments, and they both contain energy. All these planets contain energy. So whatever you're doing at that point in time, it's going to have an effect on it. That's just my personal belief. But I feel like that plays a big part too, especially in this existence that we're living in currently right now. No timelines involved, but the one that you're present in, that you're trying to manifest in currently. I feel like it does play a lot. Because right now we're having, I think Mercury is going to go into retrograde, and it's in the sign of Mars right now. So that's going to be a lot of conflicting energies, egotistical problems, depression problems, depending on what your signs are and how they line up. And Mars is a fiery planet that likes to cause massive energetic changes. So Set is more of a fiery god. So people who are looking for different energies right now are probably going to find him attractive or appealing right now. But they might not stick with him. I mean, that does change. I mean, certain gods and goddesses might not want to work with you in the long run either, once they feel like they fulfilled a certain part of your life and they're like, you don't need me anymore, you're done, you're past this, you don't need to keep calling me forth to help you with this problem, you have it. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's I'm a Scorpio, October 29th, and I've always been drawn. I've always had a Mars energy about me, but I actually have more Pluto in my chart, which is more. It's weird because Pluto is more death and withdrawn and more death energy, but I also have Mars. But yeah, there are yearly cycles, and I imagine that there's. Well, I think that I understand that the cycles are also bigger as well.
Yeah.
But it is I think that a lot of people who are well founded in various spiritual paths, as well as a lot of witchy people, understand that the cycles that the Earth goes through are very much tied to us. One thing that I've always wanted to delve more into, that I need to observe more often, is the various celebrations and rituals that you do in regards to whatever cycle that we're in currently. whatever part of the year. A lot of the magic that I do is very much, on the spur of the moment or what I want right now. But I've been noticing as years go by and with my magical practice that the cycle, I've just now started noticing that the yearly cycle, based on what time of year it is and what things are aligned, actually affect how I feel and what I can manifest. But it took me so many years to just realize, like, oh, this has been happening for a long time. Why haven't I been more aware of this? And like what part of the year that we're in, how things are aligned. So that's something for myself that I need to really observe a lot more of these rituals and really take into account. Because if you don't take the cycles into account, the cycles will certainly have account of you and still affect you regardless. Would you agree?
Exactly. Totally. 100%.
Yeah, it's so like, do you feel like your own sign, as far as your birth sign, kind of defines you in some way, or do you feel like you're not really connected to it?
Um, I pull natal charts too, and I read those. So I don't believe we are just our sign that we're born with. We're an accumulation of a lot of things based off of planetary alignments and what was going on when you were born. I mean, as a Capricorn, I feel like, yeah, there's some things that I feel like are basic Capricorn traits. Like I seek out stability, financial stability. It's a big thing, especially in this world that we live in. You kind of need it to do the things that you want. Regardless if I like it or not, it's real shit, and you kind of need it. But my moon sign is in Scorpio, and I'm a Taurus ascending. So I feel like those together, I have a more spiritual aspect in my moon sign. I seek out things that most people don't give a fuck about, and they're like, why the fuck do you even care about that? You should be focused on what's in front of your face. I'm like, no, that's the shit that's making me depressed, so fuck off. I'm gonna go focus on the other shit that I think is fucking cool. So yeah, I believe we're a lot of traits in one. If that's something you like to dive into, natal charts and astrology and stuff like that. It's literally a book about you if you pull it up and you read it, and you're like, holy fuck, how did they know all that shit about me? It's great.
I've definitely. So I didn't get into astrology until fairly recently, but I have had people read my own, and they were pretty accurate on a lot of things. I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's some to this. But that was pretty recently. Cause like I said, I didn't start realizing the cycles had an effect on us until, and even our birth or where we're at right now had an effect on us until recently. Um, do you feel like that enhances a magical practice when you know kind of where maybe your spiritual body's at or your energetic body? I'm not really sure how to describe how the cycles affect us, but I think that maybe our energetic body that is in this material body might be more tied to the cycles. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe so because I have an app on my phone where you can keep track of all the phases that the moon is going through and what planet it's aligned in each time these phases are happening. So I don't look at it all the time. It's usually when I feel like some sort of way. I'm like, why do I feel so shitty today? Or why do I want to clean everything all of a sudden? And it's usually when it's in the new moon phase is when you're trying to get rid of shit. And I'm like that. Well, that explains it. I'm trying to fucking clean everything right now because the energy feels stagnant and I need to get that gone. Yeah. And that's what usually happens. And I keep noticing these same trends over and over again. It's the same thing with the witch's wheel of the year or the Sabbats that you were talking about earlier. Those things are recorded for a reason. They're trying to keep track of all that stuff based off of those alignments and the planets moving around because it created a mass effect at that time. So I believe it does play a big part on our physical human beings. So.
That makes sense. So in closing this section, is there any advice in regards to either apps or how to look at birth charts or what to consider when conceptualizing this? Because there's a lot of information about yourself that people will look into on an individual basis on, what sign they were born under, but as well as other things regarding cycles. Is there any advice that you would kind of give them to point them in the right direction in dealing with anything like this? Because a lot of people hearing this might not know anything about this.
It's rough at first because when I first got into astrology, I was like, holy crap, there's so many degrees of where the planets are off that can affect this or that. And I'm like, that is a whole nother world that you have to dive into to keep track of every little detail. So yeah, that's a lot to take in. But if you want to get into the natal chart aspect, then I would suggest I think it's called Natal Chart Cafe. They have a few different free natal chart generators, but you have to know when you were born, that exact time. So you're gonna have to pry out your birth certificate, where the hell that is right now. Hopefully your mom doesn't still have it. So it took a while for my mom to give up my birth certificate. I was like, Mom, I need this to get a job. Give me my birth certificate. She's like, you're gonna lose it. And I'm like, Mom.
Right.
But you're gonna need that information, the city, when you were born, all that stuff, and plug it in, and it'll generate a free report for you. And it'll be some pages long, so make sure you have some time to read it. It's not going to be exactly on point because everybody has their own trauma and whatnot and their own upbringing in their childhood. It's a representation of what each planet would mean at that time of when you were born. So don't take it completely to heart. Some things might be tweaked a little bit, but you know your own trauma and all that stuff. It just says you might have some problems here, but it might not exactly match. But they know. They know based off of that time you were born. That's free. That'll get you into it.
Excellent. That's great advice. Hey, thank you very much for joining me for another part. I'll just go ahead and say my channel, Hunter Salazar. Type it in on YouTube, you'll be able to find it. And your channel is?
1FitBruja.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope all of you have a wonderful day.